Hi, my name is Megan. I was born and raised on Oahu in Ewa Beach, and the food that I'm talking about today is mochi. Mochi is a Japanese sticky rice dish, traditionally made around the New Year's, and I chose it because it reminds me of my grandma.
So what sorts of preparation methods do you guys do together?
Well, every New Year's, or actually before the New Year, so it was always a little bit after Christmas, my grandma and all of her girlfriends, my grandma was 92, so this was her friends, and when I was growing up, they would gather all together at my grandma's little cramped uh, apartment in Liliha, and they would have a bunch of machines going with sticky rice and water, mochi rice and water, and then eventually the machine would like start beating the sticky rice and it become mochi. And I just remember them having their little system where someone would take the hot sticky rice out of the machine, put it into the mochi cutter, and they'll be winding the machine and cutting it, and then passing the hot mochi down the line, and each one would be covered, have their hands covered in the rice flour and sort of like shaping it. And sometimes they would stuff the mochi with sweet red bean paste called azuki bean, and it was just like a thing that they would do each year to get together and catch up. And it also, what else can I say about it?
So it brings people together.
Yes, definitely brought my grandma and her friends together, and we as kids would also stand by and eat little the extra tidbits. And when we were good, she would make us the kinako soybean powder with sugar, and that was like a sweeter treat rather than the plain mochi and the azuki bean mochi. And I just have really fond memories of her getting together. We don't do it as much anymore because she's much older, and sadly a lot of the friends that she got together with are now, no longer with us. But it was just one thing that she and her friends firmly believed in, carrying on that tradition together. The significance of rice or the mochi during New Year's is that it brings good luck, and it's sort of, the tradition is to eat it every year with your family at the beginning of the year, and everyone kind of sticks together because mochi is really sticky. At least that was what I was taught. And yeah, it's just like really tasty. It can be prepared so many different ways, and it's actually eaten year round in Japan. You can toast it with, you can make yakimochi. It's toasted over the grill with some shoyu or soy sauce, and that's like a more savory preparation. And then there's the sweet ones like we talked about earlier with the kinako powder or the azuki bean stuffed in it. And you even see it nowadays around on shave ice, like the little mochi ball. So you see it all the time in our local treats and dishes, but it just, this specific preparation where they're pounding the mochi together is just a memory that I have from my childhood.
So when you say pounding, are you actually pounding, or you're actually using the machine?
No, my grandma and her friends use the machine because it's very labor intensive to do the traditional pounding way, but the traditional pounding method, I think like they'll have big, huge vats of water with steam baskets over it, steaming all the rice, and then they'll dump out that steamed rice into, I don't know what the Japanese word for it, but you would put it into like a big bowl, and they have like these mallets that they would take turns like beating the mochi rice furiously until it became that sticky mass. But that was taken care of all by a machine because my grandma and her friends were very like, thin Japanese ladies, so they didn't have that luxury of or strength of being able to pound the mochi. So they did it with the machine, and then it kind of expedited the process, but still very hot, and shaping it was just like one of those things like hot potato. I just remember her and her friends just kind of like tossing it in their hands, and they're just talking, they're catching up throughout whatever happened over the entire year. It's just nice.
So that's something that was passed down from your grandma.
Yeah, it was passed down, but like I said, we don't do it as much anymore. And if anything, we'll just do one machine. In the past, she had maybe 3 or 4 machines going at one time. Everyone would kind of bring their machine over to her house and plug it in and have it all going at the same time, because we had to make huge amounts for every family to take home. But now if it's just for our family, and if she feels up to it, again, I said she's 92, so sometimes she doesn't feel like that great. We can't do it. But yeah, I think that it's something that I should try and carry on with my cousins and stuff who are around my age, and just because I know they had the opportunity to do it with her as well, and I think that it's something fun that the family can get together and do.
Okay, so definitely you want to carry on for the future.
Yeah, I think it's an important tradition. I think a lot of times, well, recently I've been thinking about how, because our families immigrated here from Japan, it's very much like the traditions and practices that we do today are kind of like frozen in time, because it's what our parents, when they immigrated in the late 1800s to Hawaii, like that's what they learned to do, and so they brought those traditions with them, and it was important for them to keep those traditions alive, so we practice them year after year. Whereas in Japan, it might have been more modernized, like the practice of New Year's and the things that they do to celebrate might have changed over time, but for us it's still very much the same. And yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for sharing your story with us.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you, Megan.